Virtue and Victory welcomes Mark Spencer Cook, a best-selling author, leadership strategist, and the founder of Windfall Partners.
If you go to science and you say, okay, what give me the objective, well done, rigorous research on gratitude. What does that look like? You were talking about gratitude, both of you. And it's substantial. Gratitude does everything you want in life. It can affect positively all the big things in life. And I won't even go through them because they're all there, all the big ones. So go on ChatGPT, hit the deep research button and say, give me all the rigorous studies on gratitude, and it'll show. And the other one is the meditation. There's a lot of self-help and a lot of practices that are about us and me and the world. And they're fine because he did say, love thy neighbor as thyself. So you got to love yourself. But to overemphasize the self is not the way to go. You want your life, lose it for another. And so it's interesting. If you look up meditation and all the benefits of meditation all by itself, no spirituality, no religious connotation, the same thing happens. Overwhelming mortal benefit in this life. Look up deep research, it just is crazy. So it's interesting. Luckily, I was fortunate to have parents that placed them together and said, look, approach in your imagination, because you can't see it, approach the governance of the universes and ask what you're doing is right or not. And then listen. But before you do, and this is what we all miss, including me, before you do, take very seriously gratitude. And people miss that in all the ancient texts. We just go to the part where, this is where I ask and this is where I get. And that's not where it starts ever. If you read the earlier sections from prophets and God himself, you start with gratitude. Think of not just what you got, but the people that you have, the people you can help. And if you think of gratitude about the people and what you can do with them and how happy it makes you, and you thoroughly enrich your mind with that, and you get directed on who it could be, and then you'll expand it with orchestration and scalability. If you think about that in a serious way, and then you say, is this right? Help. And you invest months, not seconds, months, not seconds. And then each time you do that in your sacred solitude somewhere, then you listen, you meditate, and you listen. And you don't listen to your own mind. You try to get outside your own and you listen. Those are the three things that really make it work: is gratitude, asking, and then listening. So
meditation, Mark, I don't mean to interrupt you. I think people think meditation means you've got to think about something and come up with an answer. You got to think deeply about something. What we've learned is meditation actually means empty your mind, right? Bruce Lee, I think, illustrated that in modern days of when he talked about the power of a vessel is in its emptiness. Right? True meditation comes from emptying your mind, and the power of the vessel is in its emptiness. We want a water bottle because we can fill it up with water, right? And that's an illustrative way of saying, okay, so when I'm meditating, I should be trying to empty my mind. And if I start my meditation with gratitude, which I love that you said that, a book we refer to so much on this podcast is Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. If you read chapter 1, the very first sentence, the whole first chapter is dedicated to Marcus expressing gratitude to people in his life. He starts with his grandfather, then his father, then his mother, then his great-grandfather, and then he goes on and on and on, right? But the whole first chapter is dedicated to gratitude. So such a powerful reminder, Mark. One of the questions I did want to ask you I mean, we could spend all day, but I know you've got places to be, and we don't,
Whatever you want, I'm yours.
we love this conversation so much. With what's going on in the world, let's make this real for our listeners, right? Every economist that I talk to after 25 years in banking at the most senior levels, at the biggest corporations in our country, every person that is smarter than me is forecasting a recession if we're not already there. Okay. So economic downturn. You wrote a book, Sales Blazers, a long time ago, and you've told me, Adam, if I wrote it today, it'd be a completely different book. Times have changed,
Yeah,
right? I
you
remember the
don't need to
conversation
buy
we had.
that. I don't know that you can buy it, but yeah, keep
Well,
going.
we found it. We bought
found it.
Yeah,
You found it.
We found it.
Yeah. I don't make money on those. It's so old, you guys. So don't worry.
Point is, couple of things. How do great sales leaders manage what's within their control, especially in the face of economic downturns or rejection? Can you talk us through that? And if you want to lean into philosophy, life's teachings, whatever you want, but just your point of view. Now that we've got an economic downturn on the horizon, most likely, we'll see. I don't want to predict it, but I don't want to not be ready for it. What's your take? What would you recommend? What's your advice?
Well, there's a lot smarter people than me to give you advice on this, but the good news is I think I have a different answer than a lot of people would give. So I think instead of just relying on what I'm about to say, I think you should get Chat GPT out and say, if whatever your position is, you articulate your role thoroughly and in specificity for whatever you're doing, whether it's the CEO of your own company that you own fully, or you're a near the bottom person that is also a leader of their own work. Either way, if you're a W-2 or you own everything in the company, I think there's one really valuable piece of advice. But go get that role discovered in ChatGPT on how they could best react to previous and this current recession if it does become a full recession. I don't like to say the word recession unless it's actually a factual statistic. I'm a research guy. The actual prediction of recessions actually causes recessions to some degree. So I like to stay upbeat and bullish as much till the last second. But if it comes, or if you are in your own personal recession, which is a real thing, right? A lot of people out there in their own personal recession. And let's talk to that. So I think a similar answer, and it takes us deeper. So in my work with CEOs trying to plan for the future in a difficult situation, we talk about 5 elements, and they're going to sound like things you've already heard, but they surprised me. I grew up at a leadership company and before I got into tech, and then did this on my own after. I know that these things are common, but in our research, we discovered shockingly radical versions of the 5 things I'm about to mention in the top leaders at the best client outcomes and the best financial results. And if you want a destination, then you create a clear vision of 5 years, because you've got to look up. You know, my buddy Kelly Phillips, who I'm going to quote in a second too, he used to tell me as a dirt biker, he said, you can't just stare at the ground. Bad things happen when you just stare at the ground. You can't just stare at the horizon. Bad things happen if you just stare at the horizon. You got to down, up, down, up, down, up. That's why I talk about 5 years and quarter, 5 years and quarter. But there's five elements, and they are each a milestone. So I'll just list them quick, and then we'll get to your answer. So you've got to have a specific and clear vision, and it's not just a dream. It's not just vision boarding. Those are great. Those are a great place to start. Do those if you want. But what I'm talking about is in 5 years, I am going to be helping this type of person with this type of situation, and I want the outcome to look like this type of positive consequence. It's not what I'm doing today. I want to be doing that in the future. And if I'm a CEO of a company, I want us to have foresight enough to see what the customer is going to be like then, because they're changing every day, especially every year. And in 5 years, they're going to be somewhere you've got to foresee and guess. You'll be wrong, but you'll be better off than those that don't try. And so you've got to see them in a scenario. You've got to use your episodic memory to get these in your head for a long time. And so you see them as the main character. You see their supporting cast and what will be the partnership and the team that will decide on that decision and that help. And then you see where they'll be doing it, and you see the plot, you see what'll they be after, and that comes in the forms of problems and differentiators. There's a lot of depth there that's really important. We could talk, but whatever you want. So you've got to go see what they need and they're pursuing, and that vision has to be broadcast over and over and creatively instilled in every mind that's involved, so that we're all chasing towards the same destination. Because if you don't do that, we're all doing whatever we want, or we're waiting for permission, and both answers are bad. So you do that, and then you step backwards, and I won't go through all my detail, but radically different form of mission. It's actually more of a military search and rescue, NASA. The people that really do missions, that's how the best people do missions, not the marketing and HR version where it's just high level, inspirational, no one cares, it's on the wall, but we never read it. Not that kind. We got to go way past that. And then we have to come down to the quarter. We have to orchestrate teams and march them quarter by quarter. And there's a very specific way to do that. And then as a person, we should have weekly goals that we work on daily. And we will produce 33% more exceptional work if we work on a goal each week. So that's what I teach generally. Now, if you're stuck and you just can't see any of that or figure it out, and you don't know what to do in a bad economy or whatever, we go back to what I said earlier and go a little deeper. There's a way to do a bolder immersion to understand who would be the ideal person for you to serve, and serve commercially. And that is, if you haven't scheduled your own meeting with yourself for a half hour to specifically think of two things, what difference could I make for those, or differences could I make for that person? Meaning I'm taking them from point A, whatever was okay or bad, to point Z, which was amazing. What difference can I make for that specific type of person? And then the second thing, what would delight them? This is where there's a little customer service bigger than that. I just interviewed on my podcast, she's coming up, she's terrific, an MD that went out on her own. That's not common. And she, in fact, got 4,000 clients to come to her office. I wasn't sitting around or behaving badly. It was orchestrating, not just her own behavior, not just bedside manner, but her whole office. We have three choices. We can have that patient leave telling 35 other people we were no good. They can leave and say nothing, or in medicine, 35 people, they're the best doctor, positive comments. And so as a team, we have to think, how do we delight? And she did that, and she was able to go out on her own because everyone's talking about how amazing she is, and they're bringing their neighbors and family members literally to her office. So that's one. The second one is, this one's really strange. People are cynical about this, but I'm going to point out first that every innovation occupation that there is has this exercise, and I didn't even know it before the research. It's called Go to Gemba and Lean. It's called product ethnography and product. Every occupation that tries to do creative things has this thing. And what I call it is bold immersion. And what it means is you have to go physically to the spaces where your ideal person would accept or buy what you do and use or deploy what you use or what you provided. And when you go to those spaces, everyone, I've done this hundreds of times with workshops, and people are they're very cynical, saying it's not going to work. Let's not do it. And and I talk them into it, and I go with the most cynical myself to make sure they have a good experience. And they always come back with the best ideas and moving forward.
Yes.
And I make them do 3 things. I won't go through it. We don't have time. But there's 3 very important things you have to do when you go to those spaces to have a pile of ideas show up that are some of the best ideas you'll ever have about how to move forward. The third, and I'll stop there. I won't go to all 5 immersion versions, but the third is really there's someone called an adjacent expert. And so whatever you do in life, whether it's a student, a CEO, whatever it is, there's someone that does something that's not the same for the same people. So if you're trying to be a better parent, there's teachers out there that deal with children. There's other people that deal with children. If you're a teacher, there's parents that deal with children. But if you go to people that are not doing the same thing that you're doing and ask, how do you serve them better? What happens is, if we just go to our conferences with our same occupation, we tend to hear the same stuff 80, 90% of the time. And so we get a little bit of benefit, a little marginal benefit, and that's good. Marginal benefit's great, but it's not award-winning. Award-winning is when you go to those adjacent experts. I have one example where the guy and his wife went to 150 places. I'm not suggesting you have to do that. I'm saying that you go where you need to, and then you find adjacent experts, and it could be 3. Could be 3. And if you just go to 3 to 5 people that serve the same person, but do it from a different angle with a different product or a different service, they will give you'll hear 99 bad ideas, I promise, but you're going to hear one that makes your pile. And after you do these 3 exercises, thinking for yourself in solitude about those 2 things that I discussed, going to the spaces where you need to, where they use and buy, and then going to adjacent experts and doing a bolder outreach, I call it. When you do those 3 things, you gain a pile, literally a pile of 100 to 150 good ideas. And then I'll spare you the last 2, but they involve executing only 2. Because if you try to execute 100 ideas at once, it's not innovation, it's a train wreck. So that's how you can get out. And you want to do something tomorrow morning, you could accomplish all 3 tomorrow morning, and you could start feeling unstuck.
It's beautiful. First of all, thank you, Mark. You've laid down a lot of great wisdom that we can unpack. And we really try to focus on making things very practical. So we look at things from many different perspectives. Adam, do you think we're ready for a victory lap?
That's what I love to hear.
Let's do it.
That's what I love to hear. I think we're absolutely ready.
That's a great phrase, victory
and
lap.
I love the term you've coined, Mark, that I'm going to continue to use, which is, and you've told me we don't think it's proper English, but that's okay. To get unstuck. I think there's a lot of people stuck in life, and I think your philosophy, your personal operating model, your personal philosophy, your personal experience is truly a framework to be followed when folks feel stuck and want to get unstuck, whether they're CEOs of billion-dollar companies or CEOs of their own life, or whatever part of the world they find themselves in, with whatever challenge. You've got some great ways, strategies, not ideas, proven strategies to get unstuck. And so I think understanding that there's a way out, understanding that there is a path, understanding that there's a way to get where you want to go. And it starts with setting some goals, weekly goals, like you said, that you work on daily. That's so powerful. And I think it's under promoted in the world. I think so many people are looking for get rich quick opportunities that we sometimes fail to remember that it's the disciplined showing up consistently that you will have.
And a journey, nothing big happens instantly.
Yeah. It's not a sprint.
Hey, I've been grateful. Could I just promise anyone listening, the thousands or the one that happens to want to watch me, I just want to promise something because I just experienced it personally in part of if you do what Adam just said and you keep trying. Sorry, I get emotional because I think of the 15-year-old boy that lost his father and how I needed this, and I didn't really have this advice back then. But you figure out a path, and you get deeply immersed in helping someone that is ideal for you to help, and then later you can spread to everyone. But if you do that, and you're going to fail, and you're going to have some difficult moments, and if you just keep going and give yourself anywhere from 3 months to 3 years, don't quit in a week. Just really pour it on for a reasonable amount of time. I promise that something among the 100 failures will work. And you'll say, there it is. That's the step forward I needed. And I'm going to chase down this path, and I'm going to achieve that vision. So don't give up, and don't think it's not real. What we're talking about is absolutely as concrete as this laptop in front of me. It's just not visible.